Hi, my name is Nicole Lasham, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Rainbow Times, New England's largest LGBTQ newspaper since 2006. Throughout these past 12 years, we've covered issues not only relating directly to the LGBTQ community, but also all of our individual, shared, and collective identities. This year, we wanted to sit down with the Salem At-Large City Council candidates and incumbents to find out exactly where they stand on the issues that impact all of us, especially those of us that live, work, play, and thrive in Salem. I'd like to thank all of the candidates that took the time to sit down with us in this intensive one-on-one interview, giving us for more than 45 minutes of their time so that you could understand, so that I could understand, so that we could collectively understand where exactly they stand on these issues. Those that participated were Melissa Faulkner, Conrad Prusnewski, George McCobb, Domingo Dominguez, Ty Hapworth, Alice Merkel, Elaine Milo, and last but not least, Jeff Cohen. Although all candidates were invited to participate, unfortunately, Belle Stedman and Gary Gill declined to be interviewed for the series. Likewise, Art Sargent was not able to be reached via email or phone and did not reply to our requests. On behalf of the Rainbow Times, its management and staff, our publisher, Grayson Ocasio, and myself, we thank you for watching this series. We hope that you learn just as much as we did. Let's get started. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today in this interview for the Salem At-Large candidates. You came into this race sort of late, right?
Yes, correct.
And was it in May that you drew papers?
Yes.
Yes. Why did you wait so long?
Well, I was once again facing the possibility of homelessness. My house was put up for sale, and I didn't want to pull papers preemptively and then not be able to actually run the race and serve, and then having to move.
Right. And so, have you been a lifelong Salem resident?
I was born and raised in Salem.
Mm-hmm.
I did move away for some time, came back to raise my two oldest boys, who are now 18 and 20, for 7 years on Marlborough Road. Moved away again,
Okay.
and then found myself back 2 years ago on Easter at 209 North Street in Salem.
Now, when you lived here before, was the housing crisis like it is today?
Yes, just not as prevalent to me at the moment, given that I was able to find a rental, and it was a house. So I was kind of ignorant to the facts of what was going to happen moving forward, me being a single parent with 5 kids.
Sure. And what exactly was the issue in terms of the types of housing obstacles that you faced?
Well, being a large family, landlords would hear that I had 5 children, and they didn't want 5 people living within their property. There's supposed to be laws against discrimination. Sure. So the town ordinance is 2 individuals per bedroom. So I thought I was well within my rights looking at a 3-bedroom.
Right.
I didn't realize that landlords, once I gave them that information, you want to go into a relationship with a landlord being completely open.
Sure.
As I am. My life is open. I hold nothing back. So I was completely transparent. And that, I believe, stopped me from being an applicant for some of the rentals. Also, the fact that I had 2 children under the age of 5, de-letting is a huge, huge issue. That's why, moving forward, we need to be providing affordable and accessible housing, because a lot of, we're historic here in Salem, so there's a lot of lead, there's a lot of issues.
And what do you propose that the council does, or what types of innovative or creative solutions do you have that would assist in the housing crisis that we're experiencing?
Well, I believe that landlords want to do the right thing, and I believe if we create a liaison, a subcommittee, as have it, between the landlords and tenant associations, and have those conversations and try to get some more funding for lead abatement, and also raise awareness. Someone's bottom line with paying their bills matters, but if you're increasing the rent so great and discriminating against people, you're hurting people.
That's right.
And housing is a human need. This is a human need across the board, from the college student that's sleeping in their car, to the individual that graduates college and can't find a job, to the new families that are coming here. And although they, if they have a college education, are getting priced out from bidding wars.
Of course, right.
There
was a statistic like 50% or so of Salem residents are finding it difficult to be able to afford rent, for example, and then other basic commodities, and that number to me was particularly discouraging and upsetting, like to a lot of Salem people.
Can I share something very personal with you?
Yeah.
I struggle to pay my rent. It's $2,500. It was $22 until my love of my life moved up from the South Shore. And it went up because obviously 2 more occupants and the water usage, and I'm so grateful, so grateful.
How do you feel that development relates to the housing crisis? Do we need more units available? Do we need, more condos available? What would help with that?
I think we have enough condos. I think we have enough of the diversity with the population that have money, and that's great. They pay taxes, they work, and also they struggle. What I haven't realized, Lisa Peterson had a think tank a couple weeks ago, and I won't mention no names. One of the other individuals that was there, I was really shocked to hear that she struggles as well. And that really hit me, because this has been a real struggle for me. But I didn't realize that people with a college education are still struggling to pay their rent and find proper childcare. So I've always said, we don't have a housing crisis. We have an affordable housing crisis. We need to use the municipal reuse and the AUD and all the initiatives, the overlays, all the initiatives that are at the council now. And we need to get real, and we need to vote and do what's right and create housing for those in need, the elderly, the disabled, the disenfranchised, the people that just don't feel like they don't belong, don't fit. And that encompasses all of us. Like I said, we're one human race, one love.
Agreed.
And housing is a human need, and we really just need to get real. And that's why I believe that my voice on the council matters. I want to work together collaboratively, collectively, and really sit down and look at the numbers. Because I know the budget, it's a lot. I understand, as Mayor Driscoll pointed out to me, that there's a lot goes into developing. There's a lot of money, there's a lot of building costs, and I've never been part of that. So I want to educate myself and be aware. However, I know we can do better. 10% is not enough, 20% is not enough. Why can't we take those properties and somehow, some way, and like Lisa Peterson said, think big. If there's nothing stopping us, can we just stop with the red tape?
Yeah.
Can we just stop? And can we think big and try to find new innovative ways to utilize these properties to make more affordable and accessible housing?
Right.
When I bump into an individual on the street with an ICN dog, and they're telling me their struggles, it breaks my heart. And knowing that some of them are homeless breaks my heart more. We need to really take a proactive approach in all of this. If I get elected, I want to be a counselor that goes out and reaches the people, that talks, that connects, that listens, and yes, embraces you in a hug, and really tries to help and bring that back to the council. I would like to see regular people come to the council meetings, and I will stand beside them and give them the strength that they need to stand up and speak and advocate, even if they're not comfortable doing it themselves.
Speaking along the lines of something that you touched on is accessibility. There have been many people that have contacted us with questions. As you probably know, there were several questions posed, but several people also talked about how inaccessible some buildings were in Salem, in addition to sidewalks especially.
Oh,
I mean, we
yes.
have the cobblestone right there downtown in Derby Square. We have, you know, the sidewalks are in really bad shape in different places in the city as well, making it very difficult for someone to easily access the streets of Salem. What would you do to help combat that and to get those issues addressed?
Well, I completely agree. And once again, I'm going to be very open and honest. I have fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning of my illness, I remember walking through there
Mm-hmm.
and struggling
Mm-hmm.
to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And although I don't need a cane or a walker or a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
it really resonated with me like, wow, how would someone that needs an assistive device get through here?
Right.
Now, I know this is a historic area,
Mm-hmm.
but once again, the historic integrity can still be there. We need to change, we need to be innovative, and we need to fix these things and stop with the red tape. Let's do what's right for the citizens. Every place should be accessible. I know
Can you
somebody.
give an, I'm sorry, can you
I'm
give
sorry.
an example of how you would, for example, the cobblestone area, right? What is an example of something that you would like to see done with the cobblestones to be able to preserve its integrity, but still make it accessible for
Well,
people?
I've never given much thought to that,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if there's a way we can have the cobblestone maybe underneath,
Mhm.
and we can do something over.
Mhm.
And maybe we could get some sponsors and kind of do like the park benches, and everyone can kind of come together. This is something I've never even thought of, so thank you.
Sure, that's what we're
Because
here for.
funding is a huge issue. Funding
Yeah.
is a huge issue. Money is a huge issue. I know when I'm doing my budget and I'm trying to balance things, I can only imagine how difficult it is.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we look at maybe a way, contracting with someone that can provide the integrity, the historical value, and maybe put something over the cobblestone
Right.
that's not so rigid and off balance.
Mm-hmm.
And within that, you know, maybe have it, you know, people do, you know, encryptions
Mm-hmm.
for people that they've lost, or I don't know.
Well, thank you for being on the fly.
I just
with it,
thought
right?
of that, like, because what would you do? Because
Right.
to rip it all up,
Right,
that would be a huge undertaking,
sure.
and that would affect the integrity.
Mhm, that's right.
So that's what I would propose, and I would try to find a company and collaborate with, you know, city council that would do that.
Okay, good. In terms of funding, right, we know that the city budget is limited with what it can do reasonably and what it can't do. Are you in support of a business improvement district? Yes or no, and why?
Can you elaborate on
Yeah,
that
sure.
question,
So
please?
Boston, for example, has a business, they have two business improvement districts. Essentially, the commercial industry, within a certain parameter, would be responsible for paying for additional things, you know, maybe it's sidewalk repairs, or maybe it's marketing so that they can get more people to come into their particular area of the neighborhood. Those business owners essentially would be paying like a levy or an extra tax, but it's also freely run pretty much by them. So they have control over, you know, like the financing part of it. It wouldn't rely on city funding at all. It would operate almost like a nonprofit would, in terms of, okay, we're gonna put all of this money into this area because we want more people coming into this particular area so that our businesses can grow. Do you support that idea or not?
Well, I can't quite say yes because I'm not for increased taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial rates are very high.
Mm-hmm.
In speaking with business owners, you know, it's very difficult for them to make ends meet as well. However, if they pull together and created like a committee
Mhm.
and maybe shared the expense,
Mhm.
then yes. It sounds like a
Right.
great idea.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, so
Right,
thank
so,
you.
yeah, Boston has a couple of them, and so, their models, apparently are working well for them, and so just a
Well,
little
then,
tidbit for
then
consideration.
I'm all about learning from others. A wise woman once told me, Melissa, there's lots of mistakes to make in this world. Do yourself a favor and learn from others.
Mhm.
So if we looked and reached out to find out what their model is, and kind of did an interview, and then we could present it to the business owners. And then collaboratively together, we can make that decision. I am not about forcing anything on anybody.
In terms of the Traffic and Parking Commission, this looks like one of those contentious sort of subjects, right?
But we have an amazing city, don't we?
Right.
Everyone wants to be here.
Right, and so we have this commission though for traffic and parking that was
Yes.
established, I don't know, a few years ago. I'm not exactly sure when it was established. However, they are supposed to be sort of operating somewhat independently so that issues relating to traffic and parking can be resolved quicker, more expediently, and more efficiently. The commission put forward a proposal to the city council. The city council then has sat on that proposal by the Traffic and Parking Commission for 2 years now. They've done nothing with it. So essentially the Traffic and Parking Commission can't move forward with what they were really assigned to do because city council's sitting on it. Do you support giving the Parking and Traffic Commission the authority to be able to act and do what they were put there to do, which is resolve issues relating to parking and traffic expediently?
Well, first of all, that's completely unacceptable.
Right.
And absolutely, yes, I support that initiative.
Okay. Relating to, whenever I'm thinking about questions locally, although local elections are never about, partisan politics, nor should they be, it is somewhat impossible for people's own personal belief system or moral compass to not interfere with decision-making that we sometimes see at the local level as well. How do you feel about the separation, for example, of church and state?
Well, I actually am a Christian, and I believe God gives us free choice and loves everyone. So I don't let that be my focus. One human race, one love, peace for all. So I do believe, I think the situations I've been through in my life have put me through the fire. And now I understand, I have such a greater understanding. As a parent with a child with disabilities, I have the disability component, and I get it. As someone that's faced homelessness, I understand. As someone that's been through domestic violence, mental, emotional, financial, and also, may I add, another part of my issue of finding appropriate housing was my credit.
Explain. What do you
well,
mean by that?
He hurt us financially. And then, taking care of children with disabilities and not having appropriate schooling and having to fight and struggle to find a school placement for my 5-year-old. I worked all night for a year, Ubering, so I could be home all day with my 5-year-old until I found this proper school placement. So even though I got away from my abuser, I was discriminated against for the housing on many different levels, and the credit being one of them. Well, I'm trying to keep a roof over our heads and food and just provide. And if it wasn't for the help of my 2 older boys, William and Tyler, I probably wouldn't be here in Salem running for office right now, I have to tell you. They really stepped up and manned up a lot, and I'm very grateful. And that's why this is also part of the healing process for me. Is running for office. As crazy as that may sound, some people might want to go run for the hills.
Right, sure.
And I've had people say, why? Why do you want to do this? And I said, well, with everything my family and I have been through, how can I not? How can I not stand up, speak up, and advocate?
And do you think all of those experiences will bring a unique perspective to the council that is not already there?
Absolutely, because I believe, agree or disagree with some of the council members, or anyone for that matter, that we all have unique gifts and talents, and that we all have a lot to bring to the table.
Right. I have a question from Felipe in Salem.
Felipe!
Yes!
I know who he is.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Okay, well then, okay.
I'm pretty sure I do. I might be wrong, unless there's one more Felipe.
Well, who knows, right? There could be.
We shall
there could be
see.
more.
What is the question?
We'll see. So the question is this. There's a clear disparity in the cleanliness and street maintenance of Salem neighborhoods, with poorer areas being less clean and less maintained than wealthier ones. What policies and strategies would you pursue to fix this situation?
Great question. Well, first of all, being a large family, I would increase the recycling to weekly. And I want to make it so difficult to get rid of large items. As someone that's faced homelessness, some of these families, they're in different situations. They might have to move, they might have to get rid of belongings, and they don't have the means. They might not have the transportation or the help, the resources to get them over to the dump. So I would make it a little more easier and accessible. And also just a community outreach, you know, just to reach out to them, being someone that has felt disenfranchised and really even at this level.
Do you think more funding should be allocated toward those areas in terms of street maintenance, for example?
I think we should go in there and we should beautify everything. I know some amazing people within this community. Megan Riccardi, Ward 6, love her. She is so proactive with getting things done and getting things clean. I would love to see all of us get together, go down there, bring the community together. We have such an amazing community. We have so many amazing people. And if we just went down, as they have done cleanups down there before, but not just clean it up, like really just bring the services to the people, let them know what we're trying to do, and maybe grow some flowers and educate. And yes, of course, if there's additional funding that needs to be done, everyone deserves a place that's clean.
Touching on that topic, how about
Thank you for the
yes. How about delving into the Sanctuary for Peace Ordinance? That was a very hotly contested issue, obviously in the last municipal election. And we see so many atrocities occurring right now at the national level with the immigrant community. It's happening here in Massachusetts. We have kids that are being held in detention centers. We have people who are being, deported that they're just, it's a community that's greatly under attack right now by ICE, from all the way from, national down to, even in Salem, we've seen, incidents of racism, of homophobia, transphobia, things like that increase. I mean, even on the seawall, things have been spray painted, Nazi symbols, and all sorts of things have happened, right? Like we're sort of living in this culture where people are feeling more emboldened to act on hateful feelings that they have. So when we're talking about things like the Sanctuary for Peace Ordinance, that ordinance basically provided the immigrant community a sense of feeling like they could go to the police without worrying about retribution. If, for example, if somebody was in a domestic violence situation, they could call the police, and the police is not going to turn them into ICE. They're not going to help ICE in terms of saying, oh, this person lives at this address and whatever. They don't check anything related to immigration status or anything like that. It was designed in a way that no federal funding was lost. But some people are saying that it needs to be strengthened, especially considering what's happening with the immigrant community at the national level. Do you believe that the Sanctuary for Peace Ordinance should be strengthened, left as it is, or repealed, and why?
Well, thank you for the question, and there's multiple layers. Once again, I just can't answer a yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes, in short. Thank you to Jeff Cohen for writing the ordinance. First of all, he is such an activist and advocate, and while we have some discrepancies in our beliefs in this, I know his heart, and I want to work with him collaboratively in this. Let's just say that we have an issue at the higher up leadership with our president, who is creating all this fear and all this ignorance, and it's a filtered down effect. So
do you think you would, if you're elected, would you support keeping it the same as it is? Or would you support strengthening it to protect
absolutely
immigrants more?
strengthening it. Absolutely strengthening it. I cannot imagine the plight of these people. My heart truly breaks.
Do you have any ideas how you would strengthen it? Does anything like pop into mind? Or
Well, with these children, why are they in detention centers? They're human beings. Why is anyone in detention centers? Why are we having these menstruating females without proper
personal hygiene
items?
Yeah.
We are human beings. And
So
it
knowing that
hurts
this
me,
is
it kills me.
happening-
Yes, I want to strengthen it, and I want to work together collaboratively, and I want to educate. I think a lot of the fear is ignorance. Because as someone that has concerns, my concerns are, and what I've been hearing from the constituents are, what about those individuals that break the law? How do we know who is here and how we can protect ourselves? And my question is also, how can we protect those that are vulnerable and that are here from them as well? We all deserve to have a quality of life. We all deserve to feel safe. So this also encroaches upon the school systems and children going to school and not knowing if ICE are going to show up. So we really need to find a balance. I'm not sure what the exact answer is, but it definitely needs to be strengthened, and we need to come together and find a balance. And I would love to work together with the council.
Okay, thank you. Relating to the LGBTQ community, of course. Did you support Yes on 3?
Could you please reiterate
Yes on 3.
what the...
Yes on 3 was the ballot initiative that basically was to uphold the Massachusetts law that said transgender people should be protected in public spaces. So if you voted yes on 3,
yes, of course.
it means yes, you're in support of trans people being protected.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, but how do we bring people together, I guess, is my question, relating to issues of discrimination with the LGBTQ community.
I think it's an issue of ignorance and not being educated. The ignorance leads to fear, and then the fear leads to not in my community, not here. When we're all one human race, we're all supposed to be in this together. What if that was your mother, your father, your sister, your brother? I think sometimes until a situation affects you directly, we're ignorant to it. And I've been ignorant to a lot of things over the years. As an individual, as a young child, when my aunt came out, it was natural to me. She was my aunt.
Sure.
And then my cousin Christine, she's married to a wonderful wife, and they have 2 boys. So for me, I've been educated through real life situations. And for a lot of people, unless they have been, even with the housing situation, unless you faced it, domestic violence or any of the topics. So I think education is key, and we shouldn't be divided. We should try to find a way of uniting. And even at my kickoff tomorrow at Espacio's, 12 to 4, I've invited a diverse population of the constituents. I am trying to do my part to bring people together. A bit brazen, perhaps, but I'm going to do it my way. And I believe that we can do it together if we just educate, love one another, support one another, and just really try to find that connect. Like what is stopping them? Why do these individuals think they have the right to discriminate? I mean, after all, we're not different in so many respects.
So if something came before the council that had to do with human rights issues for the LGBT community, for racial and ethnic disparities, for women, for socioeconomic issues, would you then vote in those situations to support the disenfranchised groups?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I'm in this race.
Okay.
I got into this for the housing, but like I said, many different situations in my personal life. And we're one human race,
Right.
one love.
Right, and speaking of one human race, brings me to the environment, because we all need a planet to survive in.
Goodness gracious.
So they have changed the categorization from climate change to a climate crisis.
Oh, yes.
Do you believe that there is a climate crisis right now?
Yes, absolutely.
What would you do at the local level to help address the climate crisis? Like, what can we do in Salem to do our part to make sure that we are not contributing to that crisis as much as possible?
Well, I believe we need to do more recycling, we need to do more education, and collaborate with the other counselors that are really on top of this as well. I know Jeff Cohen, he's a strong advocate, and I thank him. And I know that might be weird sitting here as I'm running against him, but together is how we collaborate. That's where he's really strong. So I want more green energy. I want solar panels, and we can find more funding resources, grants, reach out and see what's out there. All new buildings, we should have green spaces and, maybe windmills and the walls for the flooding, just really work together and see what's out there. I know there's some young individuals that have really cleaned up the oceans and.
Right. Yes. So did you support then the paper bag issue versus the plastic bag issue when we got rid of the plastic bag?
I have come kicking and screaming on that, but yes.
Okay.
But yes.
Why kicking and screaming?
Well, because I use those plastic bags for lots of things.
Sure.
So, but the environment is more important than what I use the plastic bags for.
Right.
But I just have to be real with you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Also, the paper bags rip.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, they rip. But I've purchased the reusable bags, and I'm happy I've done so.
Okay.
I'm also a strong advocate for hemp.
Okay. Explain.
Well, hemp has many different uses.
Yes.
We didn't have to deforest our forests. We can't go back. We can't go backwards. What we've done, we have killed our environment because of greed and money. And this might get me some enemies high up there, but I mean, we're all in this together, and we've killed our environment. But we can now take the steps. We need to end the prohibition. Bill Bones Flynn is my neighbor, best neighbor. When my two boys had seizures back to back, and I was sitting in my car crying, and he approached my window, and we made friends for a while. He didn't just approach my window out of nowhere. I was cleaning up my property. The only thing that won at 209 Wall Street was the Miracle Grow. I did try to plant flowers there. We built a relationship and a great friendship. He's an amazing man. He's laid the foundation for the prohibition and fights the good fight. I was looking into CBD oil for my son, but I didn't want to just order it online because I wanted to be educated, and he connected me with CBD Please, and now I'm actually going to be the guest speaker 2 time slots at the Freedom Rally. And I came into that world kicking and screaming as well, because as a youth, I smoked weed to get high, like a lot of people do, to escape reality. And it's more than that. My oldest uses it for his traumatic brain injury, and my 6-year-old uses it, well, the CBD oil, Charlotte's Web in particular, to treat his epilepsy. And I take a couple drops here and there, and it helps with my fibromyalgia. So in the same plant can be used to build houses, to build cars, to, instead of plastic, we imagine if we could get rid of these. Imagine what we could do. Our sea life are being killed.
That's right.
When whales are washing up and they are infiltrated with plastics.
Yes. What do you think about in relation to sustainability? Because I'm sort of going into another area because we're talking about plastics and things and reusing materials and like the hemp plant and everything like that. What about the arts in the city? The arts and its impact in the city, and do we need to? What do we need to do to be more supportive of the arts?
Absolutely
Yeah.
love it. I absolutely love what the North Shore CDC has done. And I know some opponents are like, oh, well, maybe they should give it more thought. Art is expression. These artists have expressed themselves. And being an individual as a teenager that used to run the streets of that neighborhood.
Yeah. Do you believe that creates more sustainability in terms of creating a more inclusive and diverse city?
Absolutely, and I am all for the arts. I love the opera, I love music. I actually produce music videos for Houston Bernard. It's fun. it's engaging, it evokes emotions and feelings, and we need that. We need
So do
to
you also
embrace it.
support, obviously, these things take some money as well. Do you support funding arts
We can
projects
find the
and
money.
stuff
We
like
can
that?
get grants. We
Okay.
can go and find grants,
Yeah.
I believe. I've never done grant writing,
Yeah,
but I'm willing to learn. We can reach out, speak up, and advocate. That is me.
okay. And
It can be done. We can figure it out somehow, some way.
Yeah. And before we wrap up here, tell me about your top 3 priorities if you were elected into the council. What are the 3 things that you are most passionate about?
Well, the housing, creating affordable and sustainable housing, accessible housing. Having the opportunity to have been the assistant campaign manager and social outreach coordinator for Michael Maloney. For Suffolk County District Attorney, I was on the streets of Mattapan, Dorchester, Roxbury. I'm not fearful at all. To my, probably a little bit concerning at some points, but I was out there meeting, talking, listening. And when I was meeting people and finding out how many homeless veterans there were, how many broken people there were, it killed me. It really did. And it opened my eyes. I was facing homelessness for a different reason. I didn't realize the extent. And we have homeless individuals right here in Salem. And yes, a lot of them don't want the help. They don't want the services because they've been broken. I went into myself for a while and didn't let anyone in. The country world were the first people, Annie Groves and Houston Renau were the first people I let into my world because I was afraid. But through art, through music came healing. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that
so
amazing?
True. That's so true. Yes. Melissa, it has been a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you a little bit better. I am sure the people that are viewing this video will appreciate your time as well. And so thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
Thank you.